So it was such an incredible challenging time for this brand, but it gave us time to step back and reload and really think about what we need to be in the future, because we were heading down a bad path. And Chuck E. Cheese was not invested in. It lost its way. It still had this incredible, great legacy behind it. But the reality of it is we had to rebuild Chuck E. Cheese for a new generation of 5-year-olds.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Prosper Brief. I'm super excited to be hosting today's episode. My name is Reilly Berk. I'm the CEO of Berk Enterprises and a Prosper Accelerator this year. And I have the honor and privilege of interviewing an industry legend and icon. Super excited to have the CEO of Chuck E. Cheese, David McKillips. David, welcome to the Prosper Brief.
Hello, Reilly. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I am super excited to talk to you. I am a big Chuck E. Cheese fan myself. I grew up going with my sisters and brothers when I was younger, and it's just an honor to talk to you. So thanks so much for your time.
Fantastic.
So I thought it'd be fun to kick things off, just to get to know each other a little bit. If you could share with everyone where you grew up and where you're currently living today.
Okay, so I have a little bit of a history. I've lived all over the place, but originally from upstate New York, and did my growing up in St. Louis, Missouri. And made my way down to Orlando, and we'll talk about why I did that. And then we meandered through Georgia, back to Orlando, then to Philly, New York City, New Jersey. But I now live in the great state of Texas in Dallas.
Amazing. So you've kind of been all over the place. Do you have a favorite state that you've lived in?
I have loved the time I spent in just about every location. I loved living in Orlando and watching happy families come in and out every week. I love New York. I love the incredible culinary scene and the international vibe in New York. And Dallas is a lot of fun, and a lot of people moving here, and it's exciting.
I love that. What were you like as a kid, David? Like, were you into sports? Were you into games? Did you play an instrument? Like, what did you like to do for fun growing up?
I played sports. Baseball and hockey were my passions, and my real passion was making pizza. I started working at a pizza restaurant when I was 14 years old and absolutely loved it. So I've always been working and playing and staying busy.
Love it. And that's kind of a good segue into my next question. I was going to ask you, like, when did you first fall in love with the world of entertainment or hospitality, and what kind of made you get into this space early on? Was that something through high school or through college? Like, how did you get into the hospitality space?
I think there was two moments. One, it was my first job, and my first love was making pizza. And I worked at a restaurant called Ken's Pizza in Manchester, Missouri, and worked there for off and on for probably about 4.5, 5 years. But then the combination of the restaurant business with the hospitality businesses was my first job. A couple buddies and myself packed a car up, and we moved to Orlando for a summer. And my first job in the family entertainment world was cleaning up trash around the dolphin community pool at SeaWorld in Orlando. And I just couldn't, I was so blown away to see people so happy and to work in an environment where that's all you're doing is just making people happy. And I absolutely loved it. And at that moment, I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. And you've had a very impressive career. You were a promotions manager at SeaWorld. You were VP of advertising and publishing at DC Comics. You were the vice president of Six Flags. Can you walk us through some of those roles and maybe one thing that you learned from each of them, or if you want to do it in combination of that whole experience?
Yeah, I'll walk you through the journey a little bit. So I mentioned SeaWorld, which I absolutely loved. And my first year was working in operations, literally cleaning up trash. And loved it. And I was going up to the University of Georgia, finishing up my degree. But I was going to school Monday through Thursday. I would take morning classes on Friday, and then I would drive back to Orlando and work Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And I worked my way through the operations group. I returned there as an intern in their sound op department, and used to sound operations for the Whale and Dolphin show, for the Shampoo show, for the Chinese Acrobat show. And so I was exposed more on the backside of entertainment, which I really loved. I was fortunate enough to move into marketing and promotions, and I was an intern there. And then I got a full-time job as a picnic caterer at SeaWorld. And I was there for 8 months. My boss calls me and says, "We have an opportunity for you, and we are going to transfer you to Philadelphia." And I had just graduated and I had a beat up old convertible. I was living in Florida. I was loving life. And all of a sudden I'm packing my bags and I'm moving to Philadelphia to work for a theme park called Sesame Place. So I knew nothing about preschool marketing. I knew nothing about, the intellectual properties of what I learned from Big Bird and Cookie Monster and Count Van Count and Elmo and Zoe and all those great characters. And I worked for 2 years. And I was at it was a show called Promo Expo in Chicago, and I saw a gentleman on stage. He was the executive vice president of Warner Brothers. His name is Joel Ehrlich, and he was talking about Batman and Robin and all the great things that they were doing promotionally. And I came up to him and I said, Joel, my name is David McKillips. I'd love to work for you one day. And he said, call me on Monday. So I called him on Monday, and I went up and I got a meeting with him. And he said, look, very impressive background. I said, I'm a promotion guy. I want to work promotions. And he goes, I don't have a promotions position, but I have a sales position open. And he goes, let me tell you right now, you'll never be successful in life if you don't know how to sell. And so I took a job in New York City, moved there, selling advertisements inside comic books, which I never read a comic book in my life. So it was great. But I worked 10 years for DC Comics, loved it, different divisions there, and then ended up working in promotions and advertising and custom publishing, representing the world's greatest superheroes. And at the time, we were the licensor of the superheroes, along with Warner Brothers Looney Tunes characters, to the Six Flags theme parks. So when Six Flags had a management team, they came in the office, and I was really impressed with the new management team. And they said, look, and I gave them some ideas, and they said, why don't you just join us? And so I joined Six Flags, and I spent 13 years in Six Flags, starting off in kind of sponsorship, and then I moved over to operations. I ran food service, retail, every dollar outside of a ticket. And then ultimately I got moved into a department overseeing all of our international development, the parks operating in Canada and Mexico, the parks being built right now in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Six Flags Qiddiya. It's got the longest, fastest, and tallest roller coaster in the world. And it was incredible. And it was just phenomenal. And then that leads me to here.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an amazing experience, incredible background. And that was going to be my next question. Given your past experience, what made you want to join Chuck E. Cheese?
Well, when I got the call, it was 2019, and it was the fall. And I got a call, and they said, well, it's a company called CEC Entertainment. They're looking to make a sea change at the CEO level. And I was president of international development at Six Flags at the time. And I said, yeah, I'll check it out. So I went down to the local Chuck E. Cheese. I walked in and I look at it, and I knew of some of the reputation of it being maybe dirty. There were fights, recycling pizza, the animatronics are falling apart, everything. And I walk in, I'm looking around, and I'm like, I don't know if this is my thing. I'm building billion-dollar theme parks that are transformational in different cultures, and it was incredible. Then the countdown happened: 10, 9, 8, 6, 7, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right? The door opens, and Chuck E. Cheese walks out, and I'm telling you, Reilly, it's like a Taylor Swift concert.
Oh my gosh.
The kids were losing their minds, jumping up and down, going crazy. The parents were happy. Everyone's got their cameras out. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen it. And I called the recruiter back, and I said, you know what? I really wasn't interested at all, but actually, I think we could do something really special with this brand. And given my background, I'm probably the best person suited in the world to take on Chuck E. Cheese. So I was fortunate to get the job, and I started January 21st, 2020.
That is amazing. I love that. And, it's very interesting to the time that you started, because, you start in January, a few weeks later, you shut down during COVID. Shortly after that, company files for bankruptcy. There's a lot going on there. What was going through your mind at this time? Because you're already taking a risk, starting a new job. Now you're juggling a global pandemic, bankruptcy. What was going through your head early on? Because I could imagine it'd be very overwhelming, very stressful. What was going through your head at that time?
Well, I had some great experience at Six Flags dealing with a lot of crisis situations, intense business dealings, heavy international negotiations. So, I felt comfortable dealing with tough situations. But when I got here, it was my first time CEO. I don't come from a financial background. I've only taken a couple days of finance courses in my life. And, I wanted to make sure I was teamed up with a strong CFO when I joined here. But The reality of it is I was here 6 weeks. Morale was low. I am coming in here with a head full of steam. The company was more than $1 billion in debt. So there's a lot that it was just starting to piece together. I was surprised to find out there was a springing maturity in our debt. So, it was just kind of one thing after another that I was kind of discovering as I joined. And then I got the call from the ownership group that says, we're out. And I'm like, what do you mean you're out? Like, we're out. You're going to file. We're going to hook you up with some great firms, legal firms and financial firms, and they're going to guide you through a Chapter 11 process. And I was like, holy crow. And, we were dealing with that. We were dealing with the pandemic, which was brand new. We had to pivot quickly to try to keep as many people employed as possible. So I think the area that if I look back on my journey here, where I'm most proud of is when we went to court, the bankruptcy court, we were able to convince the judge to say, look, let me continue to pay all of our general managers 100% of their salaries and 85% of their bonus. And we kept virtually every single one of our GMs. And I knew that because when we were going to come out of this, that we had the muscle memory to get back to business, right? So, but look, we furloughed, 10,000 employees. Technicians are making pizzas. We were the first one to start a ghost kitchen, and we were doing everything we could to just stay alive. And we did it through transparent communication. It was really, really hard, but ultimately it's something that we all had to get through.
Yeah, absolutely. What were some of the first changes that you made to start rebranding or rebuilding the brand? And also, if you want to talk a little bit about too, like some of the ways that you did pivot during the pandemic, because of course, during COVID, we couldn't, I don't believe Chuck E. Cheese was open. You couldn't have kids there. You talked about the ghost kitchens. I believe you guys were one of the first people to do that. Can you walk us through a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, we had to make a lot of tough decisions. We were closed. And if you can't imagine being in a more challenging brand in the world than Chuck E. Cheese during a pandemic.
Yeah, so, seriously, yeah, I can't.
These are little kids, and it's a tactile environment. It's very high touch, and it's something that people were avoiding. And then you combine that with young moms with little kids who are protective mama bears, and they're just like, we're not going to Chuck E. Cheese.
Right,
no
right.
So, but if you think about it, and I'll answer your question here, but if you think about what happened to the brand during the pandemic, we were closed in 20, pretty much, canceled all our advertising. We were closed pretty much in 21 in most states. Then we started opening up in the back half of 21, but we still had very limited expenses like advertising and whatnot. So you got 2 years where you're kind of lost in terms of the brand. Then in 23, it was the Omnicom variant. And that hit in the time where it is the most popular time to visit Chuck E. Cheese. And that's birthday. That's a heavy birthday time. So in 2.5 years, we basically shut down our advertising. We lost 6 million people to birthday parties. And if you were a child born in 2019, fast forward to 2024, where you would have been 4 years old, right? You may have never even heard of Chuck E. Cheese. So it was such an incredible challenging time for this brand. But it gave us time to step back and reload and really think about what we need to be in the future, because we were heading down a bad path. And Chuck E. Cheese was not invested in. It lost its way. It still had this incredible, great legacy behind it. But the reality of it is we had to rebuild Chuck E. Cheese for a new generation of 5-year-olds. And we had to look at the competition coming in. Over 280 FECs were opened up between 2021 and 2024. Shiny new boxes, big trampoline parks, active play, new arcades, new birthday centers, and there's Chuck E. Cheese. And we still look like we did 25 years ago. So we had to lean in technology, and the vision was to create a gorgeous, shiny new Chuck E. Cheese that was clean, was bright, that had a new menu, new games, new entertainment. We pulled out the animatronics. We took away the old tickets and moved it to e-tickets. We put in digital menu boards. We put in digital kiosks. We had pager pickups. We have a beautiful digital dance floor now. And when you walk into Chuck E. Cheese, it blows everybody's mind, like how clean and gorgeous it is. And we still lean in on the personalization of being with the character. on the countdown, still comes out every hour on the half hour.
I love that. That's amazing. And that's a good segue into my next question, where I want to touch a little bit about this nostalgic brand. So Chuck E. Cheese is one of those rare brands that almost everyone has a memory of. And I think, to your point, it really hasn't evolved much before your role. Really, the brand didn't evolve much. My family actually owns a vintage pinball arcade in my hometown. So I understand the emotional pull of that nostalgia that I think so many people loved with Chuck E. Cheese. There's something about the physical games, whether it's pinball or skee ball, like that just bring people together in a way that sometimes screens can't. But I also know that it's tricky to maybe evolve that space for today's customer without losing what made it special in the first place. So my question for you is, how did you approach that balance between keeping the brand's legacy, that nostalgic vibe that everyone loves, but also still pushing it forward?
Well, you had to figure out why people love Chuck E. Cheese in the first place, right? It was all about wholesome, safe family entertainment. And we looked at as the crutch of how we were going to reimagine Chuck E. Cheese. People are going to come for the games, right? They're going to come to play, but they really come to celebrate and have a great time as a family. The challenge for us from a brand perspective is that it was tied so closely to the animatronics, number one, the entertainment. And that's not a participatory entertainment. That is a sit and watch, right? But that's not what today's kids are looking for. They want active play. They want to be running around and having fun. And if you think about post-COVID, parents are saying, there is absolutely no way, after being cooped up in an apartment or a house for a year and a half, we're not going to an arcade. We're just going to sit and play games. That's not happening. I need my kids running around. And then we introduced active play as part of that as well. But we leaned so heavy in on the entertainment, and we also had to peel back of why you come to Chuck E. Cheese. For years, we conditioned the market that you come to Chuck E. Cheese because it was your birthday or you had a celebration. So our average visitation was only 1.4 times a year. And for us to change that and be the true, what I call the treat down the street, is we had to create an environment where you want to visit multiple times. So you had to fix the product first. So all the upgrades were great. All the new games and entertainment were great. But then we had to lean into active play. And we started launching little trampolines. These are little people, so it's little trampolines. And then a ninja run kind of participatory playground, if you will, which we call Chucky's Superhero Playground. And that has been a smash hit for us. Now there are so many things to do. It's like a theme park in a box for a little kid. And if you're under 56 inches, it is hog heaven. You can run around, you can jump around, you can play the games, you can interact with Chucky, you can have great pizza. It's just a fantastic experience. And now we're driving great amount of traffic, and the consumer response has been great. But it's all about going back to the basics of wholesome, safe family entertainment.
I love that. That's amazing. Now, we did also get some breaking news a few weeks ago about a new venture for the company called Chuck's Arcade. I'm really curious, learning more about this. Can you tell us a bit more about this concept? What does this look like? What can we expect to see? Because this was a really interesting move for Chuck E. Cheese, but I'm really excited about it.
Well, it is exciting. So we quietly opened up arcades around the country. And we looked at all the things that we're great at. And if you boil it down, the thing that we are probably the greatest at in the world is video games. We're the world's largest operator of video games, over 700 locations, 2 billion gameplays. It's incredible. We're built up from technology. Our game time is up 99.1% time. Our games are not down, right? And so we looked at our core competency and say, okay, well, what if we started taking this core competency outside the four walls? So we started opening up arcades with partners at resorts and hotels. And then we launched our own concept in malls. And we originally didn't have the Chuck's name on it, the Chuck E. Cheese name on it. And we were just going to see if that was just an opportunity for us to, drive incremental revenue and look at a new space, because a lot of the malls were coming back post-COVID. And then our CMO did some insights and said, you know what? There is such an affinity to the Chuck E. Cheese retro brand. Maybe we should look at rebranding them. And we did a test, and it overwhelmingly was positive. And then we looked at 10 locations, and we have been opening these up, wildly successful in some areas, still getting some learnings in others. But We just opened up in Georgia like 2 weeks ago, and that's been a home run in that one. And this is a mix of vintage games, and you know this well from being in the pinball business. So we've got Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and some pinball machines, and then it's combined with all the brand new ones as well. Whether it's Halo or a couple of new arcade machines. The location in Kansas City is the only one that has a pizzeria and does serve beer and drinks and it's something still that the whole family can go to, but it's something that for us parents, you can go back and have some fun.
Well, I love it. And I think that's what's so amazing too about what you've done is not only having Chuck E. Cheese, the place where a kid can be a kid and targeting that audience, but now you develop Chuck's Arcade and now the parents have a fun place to go to. So I think it was a really smart move and really exciting to see that in the news a few weeks ago. In terms of innovation and expansion, so you've really taken some bold swings from music videos and NFTs to launching Chuck E. Cheese frozen pizza in grocery stores. Where are these ideas coming from? I mean, these are, pretty unique ideas. Is this a lot of collaboration from the team? Where are some of these ideas coming from? And then how are you deciding, what's a smart extension versus what's too off-brand for Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah, we pass on a lot of opportunities that don't fit within, what I had mentioned of, the wholesome, safe family entertainment, right? We get a lot of offers, especially with Five Nights at Freddy's coming out and, being, kind of a spoof off the Chuck E. Cheese brand. And we're okay with that. I think it's great. It's a nod to just the nostalgic, brand. And, but we'll pass on some things that don't make sense. But we have a great team here, a team that I had the pleasure of working with at Six Flags. A lot of the folks are over here as well. We're built as a promotional engine. And there are natural extensions. There's another company out of Anaheim and Orlando that does this pretty well. They've got a mouse as well. So, if you look at when I go on my town halls, what I say is, look, I'm not going to stop until every 5-year-old is going to sleep in their Chuck E. Cheese pajamas and waking up and have Chuck E. Cheese cereal. And moms are saying, eat your green beans on a Wednesday and I'll take you to Chuck E. Cheese. So it's great. So we've got an apparel line. We partnered with Hendrick Motorsports and we did a fantasy car, which was terrific. We partnered with the Harlem Globetrotters. Chuck E. Cheese was the first coach celebration ever and integrated into the show. And now we are stepping more into the world of entertainment. We just announced a new program. We're going to have a Christmas special. And it's it's going to be a full length 2D animation. It's going to be great. So that'll be coming out. We're working on distribution partners now, and YouTube. We've launched some fast channels. Now all of our content is on Roku or Fire TV, and the opportunities are endless. And if you look at Lego and Nickelodeon and Disney and the other great kids brands, essentially that's exactly what the path that we're headed down. But we had to fix the product first. So we couldn't do all these other things until the 4 walls were all upgraded, remodeled when we were just completed that last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's so cool to see how the brand has evolved and grown, and you've remained at who you are with great games and great food and great entertainment. But just to see how it's evolved so much over the years, it's really remarkable. It's great to see. You've expanded a lot internationally into markets like Peru, Saudi Arabia. What is kind of that global vision? Internationally?
Well, the global vision is to be in every country. So, right now we operate as a domestic company with an international division. I would like this company to be a global entertainment company, which means you start every idea and you look at it from a worldwide perspective. So we've got great presence in the Middle East. We've got great presence in South America, in Latin America as well. And then we're going to be opening up in Perth, Australia here in the next probably 60 to 90 days, which is exciting. We'll have more news about international as well. But we also look very different internationally. So, in Saudi Arabia, it's 2 floors, 40,000 square feet. In Cairo, Egypt, we've got zip lines, rock walls,
No way.
It's incredible. And,
wow.
We really are encouraging our franchisees. We're 100% franchised outside of the U.S., that the brand is flexible.
That's
and
amazing.
We can be in malls, we can be standalone, you can be heavy active play, you can be games, you can be a restaurant. Like this, whatever works best. So long as it continues to fit with that wholesome, safe family entertainment, let's do it. And, it was great. And everyone loves Chuck E. Cheese. He still has got, great brand awareness around the world, even though we're not everywhere. But because we're on YouTube and YouTube Kids and more distribution of the entertainment content on air is going to help us with our ground attack, if you will, in terms of building new stores around the world.
Yeah, wow, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, and how cool too to be able to travel all over the world to see these open. And I mean, what a cool experience. I want to touch a little bit on leadership and resilience because, like I mentioned earlier, that you've made a lot of major changes to a brand that really hadn't changed much in decades. And that takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage. Were there ever moments of doubt or second guessing kind of early on in your career with Chuck E. Cheese?
I don't know if it wasn't doubt or second guessing for myself, but there was a lot of doubt and second guessing with the company, and because they had been doing the same thing over and over again for many, many years. And when we made a decision to take away the tickets and go to e-tickets, when we made the decision to take out the animatronics and replace it with technology, people were scared, quite frankly, and they're like, "What are you doing to our brand?" And but we were evolving, and it's hard. And so a big part of my job coming in, once we got through COVID and everything else, because that was just brutal on us, is really earning the respect from the field and the support center, quite frankly, but really the field. And I spent so much time on a listening and learning tour, which I still go, probably every other week. I'm in the field a lot. And we broke down the barrier between the support center and the field. And there was a big wall when I got here of just, I don't think the field believed that the support center was listening or corporate was listening. They were just, putting ideas and kind of shoving them down their throats. And it was like, you know what, this needs to be a collaborative process. And we brought in our RVPs, we brought in our district managers, we listened to the GMs, we go down to the cast and, meet with them, say, what is our guest saying? What do they want? What's most important? And that is, I think, what allowed me to get the street credibility. And when I call street, it's the the office, if you will, in the stores. And we were able to take some real bold changes. And then when you started seeing the wins, get put on the scoreboard, then you get buy-in. And when you get buy-in from everybody in a corporate environment, then there's nothing that can stop us. It is great. But we do a lot of testing. And some things work and some things don't. And I've failed so many times. I fail every single week at something. And I'm the first to come up in a town hall and say, okay, I do a chart. I took that old Good, Bad, and Ugly Clint Eastwood picture and I put my face in it and I put it up on the town hall. And I said, okay, gang, here's what happened that was good. Here's what happens bad. And here's ugly. We talk about all the things we fail at. And, you need to realize your failures, and we just try to fail fast. And if we're going to do it, let's fail fast, take the learnings and apply it to something else. And that's how ultimately, the active play came and the trampolines and the superhero playgrounds. And, some of the first ones that we did worked well and in other areas it didn't. We had to tweak that. And we're always changing things around here. But it feels good now because we're chalking up some wins.
Yeah, I love that approach. And I think people don't like change, and you were going through a lot of change, not only with the global pandemic, which we talked about, but evolving and upgrading and changing a lot of things within the brand. But I think showing your support, boots on the ground with your team, getting their feedback, wanting to know what they cared about, what their thoughts were. I think that says a lot about you and your team, and I think that's paid off with the wins that we've been seeing. So I love that approach. For people listening that might have bold ideas but worry about what others may think, what advice would you have for those people?
Don't worry about what other people think. Allow them to be a part of the decision-making process. Ultimately, it ends with me, but I don't like to make a lot of decisions on my own. I have ideas, but we have such a great team and we cultivate together and we ideate together and allow them to be a part of that process so they have buy-in, and you'll get buy-in through the entire company. So everybody wants a little bite at the apple. So I very rarely come in with a headstrong idea, but I'll plant a lot of seeds and allow the teams to really work through the ideas and come up with recommendations. And they're a lot smarter than I am. And, I've hired great people who are smart and wonderful and passionate about the business. And they've come up with great ideas that ultimately is allowing us to win. So I say, don't worry about that. Don't worry about the naysayers. They're going to go away. I've had plenty of naysayers here to say what we're doing is wrong and this and that. But you know what? Get the team that supports you. Allow them to be a part of that decision-making process. And ultimately, I think you'll find some victories. And if you don't, then you lose together and you learn together. And then, you fail fast and get back on that horse and keep riding.
I love that. What are you most proud of in your time so far at Chuck E. Cheese?
Taking care of our people. We have absolute 100% transparent communication from this office through the senior leadership team down to the field. And, I wasn't kidding when I said the good, bad, the other. We talk about what we're doing well, what we don't do well, the mistakes we've made, and, just taking care of our people. We have the highest Glassdoor rating in the FEC category. We were the lowest when I got here. Our retention rate for general managers is at 17%. So, our turnover rate is at 17%. So, it's remarkably low in the industry. So that means people believe in what we're doing. They want to come to work here. They love it. They understand the mission, the vision, the values of the company. And, just going back to COVID, when we paid for all those GMs and their salaries and their bonuses, I still have people come up and thank me. And, it wasn't just me. It was our COO, it was our head of HR at the time. It was all of us together. But, they remembered that. And we took care of them as people, not just a business.
That's amazing. What motivates you as a leader today? Is it the team, the challenge, the guest? What motivates you?
What motivates me is going into the store and seeing kids smile. And there is nothing more spectacular than just going into our stores. And I like to just sit back and just watch, and knowing that we created this environment that is going to deliver a lifelong memory. And it's so great. I love it. It motivates me. The creativity that we can have with this brand is also so motivational. I can't get in early enough. I can't stay late enough. I can't, turn off. It's just so great to be on a comeback and a turnaround of this legacy brand. And you can feel it. This is like almost a 50-year-old startup company now. And it's really, really exciting.
I love that. You can feel your passion too when you talk about the brand and what you've done. It's really it's so exciting talking to you and learning more about this. When all is said and done, what do you hope your legacy at Chuck E. Cheese will be?
I just hope that people remember me as having an open door and taking care of our people, taking care of our guests, and delivering an incredible entertainment experience.
Love that. What's next for Chuck E. Cheese that you're most excited about?
Well, what's next is what we are planning to do outside the four walls. So we've got, the entertainment and restaurant aspect of the business firing on all cylinders. It's such a great experience right now. Our guest sat scores are so high, and people are really just loving coming to the brand and revisiting it again for the first time. It's amazing because our guests come in around 3 years old and they leave around 9, and they don't come back for 15 years. So there's a lot of people that are coming back with their kids for the first time. You're like, wow, this is such a new experience, which is terrific. But what's next for us? We talked about Chuck's Arcade. We're expanding into more resorts and hotels. We've got the animated special coming out. We are opening up a branded water park area at Sacramento Water Park called Calabunga. So we're going to move into the LBE space. And then ultimately, my goal is to walk down the red carpet for a Chuck E. Cheese movie one day. And that would be something great. And I know that's years away, but it'd be great. And then continuing opening up new stores and bringing Chuck E. Cheese all over the globe is just super, super exciting.
That's amazing. I am so excited for you and the team and the brand. It's so fun to follow along from the sidelines. So keep the momentum up. It's so exciting. My last question for you is, if you could go back and give 25-year-old David one piece of advice, what would it be?
Let's see. Let me think about where I was at 25. I was in Philadelphia working at Sesame Place, a little bit lost in life, trying to figure out my next path. My advice would just be, whatever path is in front of you, walk down. If a door closes, open a window, just keep going and do everything you possibly can to the best of your ability. It doesn't matter what job it is, because you just never know what it leads to the next opportunity. And, there are times in your mid-20s, you're kind of, what am I doing with my career? What am I doing with my life? And you just got to keep going and keep working hard. And that's what I would say to myself or any other 25-year-old right now. Just keep going and just work as hard as you possibly can, and it'll get you to the next level.
No, that's great advice, especially speaking as a Prosper Accelerator. There's 150 of us that are, emerging leaders and maybe even just new to their career. So I think that that's great advice that we could all learn from. So David, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Very resilient story. I love your creativity, your bold leadership. It was so great learning more about you and the brand. And I think there's a lot of great takeaways that the audience can take from this. So thank you so much and keep the momentum going. Like I said, really exciting to see everything that you're doing. And I have no doubt that you will be on the red carpet in a few years celebrating the Chuck E. Cheese movies. So congratulations and thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Reilly. And congratulations to you for being an accelerator. We will see you at the Prosper Forum.
Thank you. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Attention emerging leaders in food service and hospitality. Are you ready to accelerate your career? If so, join us for the Accelerate Conference on October 22nd through the 24th at the Omni Hotel in Dallas, Texas. Gain insights from over 1,000 collective years of business and leadership experience. Engage in more than 30 focused breakout sessions. Be inspired by 5 empowering general sessions featuring industry experts. Don't miss this opportunity to build valuable connections and elevate your leadership talent to give your business the competitive edge it deserves. Register today at prosperaccelerate.com.